Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Tech Team Trunks channel where we're going to tinker and learn. Today, we're going to be working on the Zotac GTX 770. If you were here for the last video, you'll notice that we did some cleaning of the unit. But I want to talk about the GTX 770 because I have some slides prepared. These are the specifications, as you can see. Video memory, CUDA cores, and all that. It's an old card from around 2013-14 era. But if you are, trying to keep something running, this is the place to be. So what we're gonna do is, like, we've disassembled the Zotac GTX 770. We've cleaned it. What we're gonna be doing today is we're gonna be replacing the fans. The thermal paste and thermal tape will be applied, and then we're gonna do some assembly. So if you're not already subscribed, subscribe to the channel, and we are gonna get this rolling. So here it is. So basically, I have the fans positioned on the heatsink, and they're not exactly positioned right because we have to screw them down. So I'm getting my tooling ready, and I'm gonna have to align those fans up by the bracket on the back motor with the holes. You can't really see all that detail in this video, but I tried to zoom in as much as I could to get it as, decent as possible and size wise for you. So this takes me a little while because the screws are really small. You have to position the screw, and you really need to have a magnetic screwdriver head or some type of magnetic screwdriver in order to manage these little screws and getting them positioned properly before you screw them in. As you see that I'm struggling here to get that done. It wasn't easy. It was a little tedious. And I think you guys will find the same if you are indulging on the same project. Also, too, those wires have to be clocked a certain way. And when you disassemble it, you should pay attention to, like, what you have, and what it's looking like and everything, so that you're not dumbfounded when it comes to putting everything back together. So essentially, I get one screw in, and once you get one screw in, you just got to rotate and pivot upon that point to get the other two screws. It's a 3 screw per fan motor deal. That's going to be 6 screws that you're going to need right there. So be patient, pack your patience when you do this because it is very tedious. You want to make sure the fans or motors are tightened down. Now these replacement fans were purchased because the original units that came with the unit were seized. One of them was, and the other one you may as well just replace it too, if you know what you're doing, because you don't just replace one and replace the other. Continued fan assembly here, just from a slightly different angle, and so basically we get everything lined up, everything's screwed in, everything's secure. Check for free rotation of the fan motors. There's no interference there, as you can see. And so we're done with that particular portion. So take notice of how the wires are clocked and everything like that, because you're going to have to kind of, before you put the motherboard, not the motherboard, but the GPU card motherboard back in, you're going to have to make sure that you line those wires up with the heat sink in a certain way that it doesn't interfere with anything on the motherboard or the GPU. And coming up next is a little bit more of the assembly. We have to put the shroud on. So that there's 4 screws for the black shroud that goes around the fans and everything like that. And they're tiny little screws. As you can see there, I'm like struggling a little bit to get it together. But all the screws are tiny, pretty much. But there are some screws that are smaller than others. So it's really good to have a handy toolbox that helps you good. Now, looking at it from the top down view, we're getting ready to assemble the board, the main board of the GPU to this. And in preparation for that, we want to make sure that all the screws for the 4 screws are put on the motherboard shroud, or the fan shroud for the GPU. And we want to make sure that we're just everything is screwed in. We don't want any extra screws left over. And we will proceed from there. Two screws each side. By the way, I just wanted to point that out for this black shroud around the GPU cooler assembly. Now, we applied the thermal paste. Unfortunately, for some reason, I don't have the footage. I don't know why I don't have the footage, but we'll find out with the thermal compound. So you can see a little bit has been applied over there to the GPU itself, and then we're going to proceed to line up everything with the main board of the GPU to the heatsink of the GPU. Also, there's a whole bunch of steps that we didn't capture. Like it goes from the apply of thermal padding, application of thermal padding on the GPU's accessories such as memory and other related chips. And then those brackets that we did in the last video, we applied the thermal padding to those, cut and all that, cut it to size, and then we put it together. So I'm sorry that we didn't have all that footage, but this is the final assembly. There's several screws where you put the GPU motherboard to the heatsink, and it screws directly from that main board of the GPU into the heatsink. Makes a connection, makes a ground type thing. And that's essentially what we're doing in this. So I'm going to cut out now and say that we're pretty much done. You'll see there's several screws that you have to manipulate and get in there. It's good to have a handy screwdriver, as I said before. So that really covers the assemble part. And then I want to talk about what's up and coming. We're going to be doing motherboard removal of this old computer, and we're going to be doing install of a new CPU, fan, and heatsink. And that's essentially what we have coming up. If you like the video, please click the like on the way out. If you have a comment or have a thought, an idea, or some thought, please leave a comment below. It helps, and share the video with a friend. And I think that's what we have today. Thank you for watching and have a great day.